Representatives has asked the federal government to stop the planned introduction of computer-based testing for the 2026 WAEC examination, warning that the move could overwhelm students and destabilize the education system. Lawmakers raised concerns that most secondary schools lack computers, electricity, and internet access, making a sudden digital transition unrealistic. They said many students have never used a computer, yet would be required to take multiple theory and practical subjects via CBT. Sponsor of the motion, Honorable Kelechi Nwogu, described the plan as premature and cautioned that it could trigger mass failure, psychological distress, and social unrest. He urged WAEC to delay the rollout for at least 3 years to allow for proper preparation. The House noted that more than 25,500 schools currently lack basic digital facilities needed for any form of computer-based examination. Members warned that rushing the process could create a national education crisis. Following the debate, the House directed WAEC and the Ministry of Education to suspend the CBT program immediately. It also called for increased investment in ICT infrastructure beginning from the 2026 budget. The Committees on Basic Examination Bodies, Digital and Information Technology, Basic Education and Services, and Labor and Productivity were mandated to engage relevant stakeholders and report back within 4 weeks. What are your thoughts on this report? You know that in the new curriculum, we have now included, the federal government did include, gave us a more robust curriculum at the start of the current academic session, where all schools are expected to introduce the computers, where students are supposed to move into a lot into technical know-how as regards IT, moving with the tide when it comes to tech and every other area. Do you think that indeed we are not ready for the CBT system in writing the senior WAEC examination?
You see, this report is just laughable because I thought about an African book to use earlier, but I couldn't remember it correctly. But quite laughable because now the world is moving at a very fast rate. With AI, with tech, CBT is like, how do I even compare that? That's like Stone Age compared to what some countries are already incorporating into their system. And now, I mean, the whole idea of saying, oh, it might be too premature and too early. I get the gist, and they are not wrong. But it's now as if it's someone's fault, if not theirs, right? Well, the reason why I said that is because, I mean, it's 2025. We have had decades as leaders, to push for these things, and not even to push for these things. These things have been pushed for decades. Schools, you need to have computers, you need to have this, you need to have that. I mean, even when I signed up for my first degree, I wanted to study computer science, and definitely, actually, am I still audible? Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
All right, the experience was not as thought. When I say the experience, I'm talking about, you would expect that, everybody would have access to desktop at least, to try out coding and whatnot. But then you have to use the system with someone else, right? So in other words, you could not even get, and we had limited time. I think it was just 30 minutes to literally have a few of the desktop system, and we did that like maybe 5 times, during the course of year 1 and year 2. What am I trying to say? This is like years back, if not almost 10 years back. And it's just sad because it is expected that as of then, that schools should have laptops, should have an advanced, at least IT section where people can have a feel of these things. But now, the world has moved to CBT exams, even the voting system has all been advanced, and we are still stuck literally in the past. I mean, I don't know how best to say it, not to sound too, derogatory, but it's not our fault entirely. Except you are from a well-to-do family and you have had access to these things. Sadly, I mean, how many government schools have good IT sections? Let's even take out IT sections. What is stopping the educational system from incorporating tech, into the tech advancement system, into the teaching style. Like students could have take classes online. Teachers could teach using desktops, and students could receive using tablets and whatnot.
Right.
These are the things that would ensure that kids have an idea of what to do with a device that has a screen, basically, to put it plain. But they don't have access to these things, and now you're saying, oh, give them 3 years. We have had decades. So what difference do 3 years make? So they are literally still stuck in the past. And in as much as the point is very valid, because if you say let students take exams using CBT, not all will perform well, because some don't even know what to do when they sit in front of the desktop and a keyboard. And I was citing the example earlier. And giving them 1 hour a day on the system will not fix anything, if you ask me, right? It has to be properly incorporated in the system. Like when they go into class, they have to use the laptop. When they are taking their chemistry projects, they can see diagrams in real time. Practicals are being done. These are the things that ensure that the society, the educational system builds a society of youths and teenagers and youths that are learned and leaning towards tech. I think some months ago I saw some kids in China that are literally building devices. Like they weren't looking at any books, building tablets all by themselves. It's not a thing that is born with them, or like it's being infused in their brains from birth or anything. It's just the moment they start going to school, they literally have to do these things. They literally have to see things. The way a tech what's the best word to use? The way a teenage boy or girl who has been incorporated with tech, from maybe nursery school or primary school, would see a laptop or a desktop. It's different from the way someone who spends 1 hour with it every week would see it.
Absolutely.
Right? So it even helps with the advancement of the society, but leaders do not really push for these things, which is why I always say the three main things, spanning from the report we talked about earlier, the three main things.
Right. I was going to go back a little bit to that report, with my next, question at this time. We talked about, insecurity just now. And given the decree that this should be held back for the next few years, the plan is to actually get schools to have laptops and make it accessible. Now, it's going to be included in the 2026 budget. That means there will be changes in the schools, and these devices, laptops or desktops as it were, computers, would be purchased for the children to use. Given the level of insecurity, do you think these laptops or this idea is going to function with the high level of insecurity we currently have? Because when you think about, the holistic picture of all of this, if there's there was a woman in, yesterday who talked about how her husband was killed and her daughter was abused, and the bandits totaled about 100, and they were stealing food. If they can steal food, do you think these devices are going to be safe?
Yeah, that's a very relative question, in the sense that that was where I was heading to with the most important things that should be done in our society. Security. I was going to head there. Education. When there is no security, these things could be stolen in the long run, right? Just like you have broken that. Back then growing up, you hear some people say, "Oh, they stole." Just a funny example, by the way. The keyboard in the church was stolen, or the TV in the church was stolen, and people would be like, "Oh, some people have the money to steal from God Himself," right?
Right.
And that's just an example of this. The security the security arm of the nation is not functional, where people are being kidnapped. What's stopping them from changing their modus operandi to picking up these devices from schools? Because schools are not even safe. Hospitals are not safe. So I was saying earlier that security, healthcare, education are not taken seriously in this country. I feel like if those three things are taken very seriously, if the other branches of the society that are supposed to operate optimally would evidently begin to operate optimally.
Right.
So now, the same 3 years after, yes, for me, I would have said or suggested that it should be a dual option. For those that could take CBT, let the system, come into play. For those that cannot, let them still have, the written method. And the
Right.
reason why I say this is because let the advancement begin. It's better for it to begin than to not at all. And that advancement will also ensure that schools, put in more effort themselves, to get to incorporate tech into their system. Like
Right.
I said earlier, most private schools are trying to do that already. So I mean, the fingers are pointing literally to the public schools, which is directly to the government.
Right.
So it's one thing to say it, which is like a thing in this society. One thing to say it is another thing to act on it. Like I said, we have been saying it for decades,
Right.
right? So
Absolutely.
what's different in 3 years made? But me, I'm going to mark my calendars from today, and 3 years, God keeps us, we'll see if there's a difference.